Good morning, everyone. It's Michele Maher here this morning, and today I'm joined with Neelam Dhall. Thank you so much, Neelam, for giving me your time to talk about the past 5 months we're going on now and what we've been going through and how we are keeping a positive mindset and pivoting in our business. So thank you, Neelam. If you want to give us a few words about who you are and what you are all about.
Yeah, Michele, thanks so much for having me. So happy to be here. So my company is called Simple Solutions Mediation, and I'm a divorce mediator and divorce coach. And basically, I help people go through divorce, not the way that I went through it, in a more amicable, more affordable, way less stressful route than going through court. But bigger than that, I'm a single mom to two gorgeous boys who are 16 and 13. And, they are my first passion, of course. And I think we're all just navigating this interesting world of COVID and figuring out that it's not going to be gone anytime soon, and figuring out what that really means for all of us.
Right. Yes. Yes. And as I was talking to you before we got on camera here, I really started doing these interviews because when we first, although we knew it was out there and over there, it started in China and then over in Europe, I don't know that any of us thought it was going to come here to this extent. And I know when things shut down, like for me, it was when the NBA suspended the season that It felt like, what is going on? Like, yeah, it's just that kind of is when reality set in. And as well, the social media became so negative and empty shelves at the grocery store and things like that. It was really, I found myself really getting very fearful, and it was easy to get sucked into that whole spiral of fear.
Yes, I think it did become very divisive at the beginning, and
yes.
Now it's like a new normal. Like, okay, now what does this mean?
It is right, and it was just again trying to navigate through that. It was just mass confusion at the beginning. And I know if you'd like to share your experience with COVID, with all of us, I know that you have been through a lot at that beginning back in March.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I was one of the unlucky ones to get COVID, and in the beginning, just thought I had a cold. Like my older one and I were passing back and forth some kind of bug. Certainly didn't think it was COVID, just like anybody else, right? I think for those of us that have no experience with it, you just feel like it's somebody else is going to get it. I'm not going to get it.
Oh, for sure. And that was the beginning of March.
That was during March break. And right. So, I mean, because he even thought maybe he had an ear infection. So, COVID was the furthest thing from my mind. And, in a couple of days he was fine. And I was just getting worse and worse. And then I got a fever, and then this fever just wouldn't go away. And that fever actually went on for 6 weeks. And really in that first week, I became so weak. I could barely get myself to the bathroom. And these gorgeous boys of mine, like, I don't know where I'd be without them. They literally held vigil at my bedside every day because I was just so weak. And, they would bring me food to my bed. Like, it was really that bad, to the point where I ultimately ended up calling Emerge, like calling 911, because I had texted my parents that day, I think this is it. Like, it was that bad. And of course, not wanting to share that with my kids, because you don't want to scare them, and yet you need to give them enough information, So in that moment, watching your kids watch you being hauled off by an ambulance is just devastating. And then, a single mom, so having them, okay, I'm texting their dad in the ambulance on the way, so he's in touch with them and telling them, call your dad, let him know what's going on, that kind of thing. And it's just so upsetting, obviously. And then you're getting in this ambulance not knowing, am I coming back? Right? Really honestly not knowing what's going on. I know how awful I feel. I know that no one's allowed to go with me in this mess to the hospital. So going alone, all of that was just so hard. And, and then when you get there, you understandably so, you're treated like a merchant, like no one wants to be near you. Like even when the 911 staff show up there and they practically hazmat suits, totally understandable, but it's such a scene. The neighbors see like all this thing going on, and they were literally yelling to me from across the street, where have you been? What's going on? To know what the situation was before coming in was really something. And then getting there and they clear the path for you. I mean, in a way it was good because you got your own room and you're all isolated. And,
Start treatment.
Pretty much. But interestingly, when I got there, they're like, well, you're not actually presenting the typical symptoms, so we don't even think you have COVID. And so they did all the tests. They did a chest x-ray for me right there in the room, and it was clear. And so I had about 3 or 4 doctors with me, all of them saying, we don't think you have it, but we have to swab you because that's what we have to do. And unfortunately, it took them 10 days to call me to tell me that I had COVID. Now, in this period of 10 days, first of all, I'm calling the hospital saying, hey, what are the results? And, you know, it was mass confusion. They couldn't tell me. They didn't even know where I would find the results, which to me was absurd. And so, you know, I would call them every a few days. Okay, is there somebody else I can get on the phone? Nobody knew. And ultimately, public health called me to tell me, yes, you have in fact tested positive. And so I asked them, like, why is it taking you 10 days? Like, in a divorced family, kids come and go, right? They go back and forth between homes. In my situation, because we knew something wasn't right, we just quarantined anyway. So, you know, I quarantined with the kids for 2 weeks. But interestingly, because the way the timing worked out, they had already gone to their dads. The one of them had gone to their dads by the time I got the news. And so then me telling public health, well, this is the situation. And then of course them saying, well, you need to get that child back. And now the father has to quarantine for another 2 weeks on his own. And me wondering, well, does that even make sense? Because if he's been exposed to a bug, he's been exposed to a bug, right? Quarantine or not, from just the kids, he's already been exposed. But, you know, their view was, you know, unless he quarantines, we're never going to consider that he's free from quarantine.
Right. Yeah. They wanted to make sure he's not associating with anyone else.
So we actually ultimately had 2 quarantine periods in our family.
Mm-hmm.
And then it became, you know, finally, you know, again, it took a long time to start to feel human. Like I can't even describe it. It was so, and I will, you know, I didn't put it out there back then because I didn't want to put it out into the universe. I was having to take shallow breaths. I didn't tell anybody in my moral support that that's what's going on because I didn't want to scare them, but it was happening. And that fever, like it was like one day, you know, you'd wake up and it would be a sign of almost no fever, and then it would just pop back right back. And there was no rhyme or reason, right? And but toward the end, as it was dissipating, you know, my close friends all knew that I had it, and they were like, "You need to share this." And I come from a background where we're very private and we don't share our business, and I hummed and hawed about that for a while because I knew that, you know, there's backlash on the other side of the folks that don't want you to share this information. And what my friend said to me, which I agreed with, was people don't see that this is real. Right? We keep hearing about it on the news.
Especially back then when you were sharing it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you know, because they're not feeling like it's real because they don't know anybody, they're maybe taking steps that they wouldn't otherwise have taken, or you know, maybe they're not taking precautions that they should be taking because they don't feel like it's real. And because then there was the whole conspiracy theory and all that kind of stuff going around, and does it really exist? So, you know, I gave it some thought and I thought, you know, I think it is the right thing to do, to share, because even if I save that one person from making a bad decision, that's great. That's great. And so I did. And of course, you know, my mom was getting calls from India, from family back home, like, oh my God, is she okay? She's like, you see what happened? Now everybody knows. It's like, oh, but it's not a big secret. Like, I got sick. It's not a big secret.
Yeah, right. Exactly. There's no point in trying to keep it secret, like you say. You have to, you know, put it out there. It's, you know, if one person listens, then it's also all the people that one person would have associated with and interacted with. And we know, we've seen how it, you know, how it just pyramids out from one person to, I think it was back in March, there was a big convention in Toronto right around that, I think around March break.
Yes.
And people, that somebody had it there, and then it just expanded again. Same thing. So.
Well, and what's, you know, because I saw it firsthand, I also saw, you know, bless the frontline workers, like bless them, because how scary they have to work on all this. And we're so appreciative of everything that they've done, and not related to them, but the way that they're keeping track of the records, and you see the delay in the response times, and some of that really just needed to be improved, because I can see from my perspective and what I've seen where the breakdowns are, and why it's so hard to contain. Because first of all, if I'm getting the message 10 days into
Oh,
my
that was, yeah.
experience, and you're telling people to quarantine for 14 days, well, that was in my experience actually day 18. And so if I'm not healthy at day 18 and you're telling everybody that their quarantine period is over after 14 days, then people are walking around still contagious, not knowing it, right, with best of intentions, and infecting people, not knowing. And then you know, them saying, you know, for certain reasons, like if, like I had to get retested because for other health reasons, and they wanted to have your test, they wanted you to have 2 negative test results in a row. I was testing positive one test, negative another test. And you were already telling me, if you require 2 negative tests in a row, you already are questioning the quality of the results. So now we know we're having people being tested, and it might be a false negative or a false positive.
Yes.
Right. And not knowing enough about the virus, like, no wonder we can't contain it. There's just so much we don't know. But even, you know, if we have enough to know that we need 2 negative tests, then we have enough to know that maybe something is up with those results. And maybe we should be letting people know to be a little bit extra careful, that hang on a second, maybe 14 days isn't the right amount of quarantine period.
Exactly. And because you were feeling sick, and you had that fever, you say for a month.
6 weeks.
6 weeks. So yes, exactly. And my a friend of mine, her mother also got COVID. She was in one of the long-term care homes in Toronto.
Oh dear. Yeah.
One of the problem ones. And but she was sick for a long time. She was sick in the home, and she had 2 COVID tests, and they both came back negative. And yet she had a fever and all the symptoms. And then what happened was that she fell at the home, and my friend had to really like get on the phone and really push them to call 911 and call emergency and get her into the hospital.
Wow.
And when she got into the hospital and she had another COVID test, then she was positive. And they of course had to again test her, as you're saying, but it basically a month later, she was still testing positive for COVID.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the 14 days that they came up with, I don't know. I you know, there's another person I know who contracted it from work, and he was really sick for 2 days. That was kind of it. He felt sick for 2 days.
Oh, wow, bless him for only having 2 days of it.
Yeah, I know. And they told him quarantine for 14 days, so he did, and then he went back to work. You know, who knows? Like some people, and some of these stories I've heard, some people didn't even experience anything and yet had it. So it all,
well, and with
there's
my
so
kids,
many questions.
With my kids was the fear of, geez, did I give them something? And so with them, you know, the older one who started it all off, he was sick for maybe 2 days, 2-3 days, not feeling quite right, but reasonable, no fever. The younger one had a fever for a day. You know, and I hope that was their experience, as in I hope that it's over with and they don't get something. But yeah, sure. Then you wonder, you know, here they are taking care of me. Am I exposing them to something? And really, I can't help it. We're in the same house. Whatever the damage is, it's done. Right?
Yes, exactly.
But
and I think, sorry, I think going back to when you contracted it, you know, when you were getting tested back there in March, the process was still in the works. You know, it really wasn't developed to the point it is now. Because I understand from another friend of my daughter's whose brother got it, so then she was tested, and the results, you know, she got back in 2 days. So not this 10-day thing anymore. But I think back to when you were, there were still unknowns. There were still so many unknowns. It was still pretty new, and the whole testing was not developed to the point it is now, the whole process, you know. So yeah.
And then now that, you know, they still don't know if you're immune, because I keep asking,
right,
now that I've gotten it, am I immune? Like, hopefully I am. We can't tell you. Like, you can get a blood test. I don't really know where that blood test is to be done, to be honest with you, but I think, like, is it even worthwhile at this point? Like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I don't know. And really, do they know enough? Do they really know enough that you're not going to get it?
I don't think they know. I don't think they know that yet, because I do remember seeing some stories from coming over from China saying that somebody was getting it a second time. So I think there's still so many unknowns, and like you say, that's why we thought that it would be maybe, quick, we shut everything down and then we contain it and we're done. But they still don't have all the answers.
No, and now we're hearing about the second waves happening in other parts of the world. So
yeah, and then we look to the US and it's a totally different story.
yeah.
Right. So that's I don't know. We're at least we're doing a good job here to to contain it. Any idea where you might have how it might have come across you? Had you traveled prior to that?
No, like no. Before that, the week before, all I could think is I went to the ATM, right? But I'm always kind of careful about germs. I would never, I would have used like the back of my hand to,
Yeah,
press
yeah.
the keys, those kind of things. But maybe I wiped my face or something. Like who knows, right? Or maybe it was at a grocery store. There's no way to know.
Yeah, it is. I know it just back then a lot of it was coming still from the travel.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so it took you, so basically you felt by the time you were ready, good to go back to work, it was probably 2 months or
Easily. And
yeah.
in the middle of that, I'm blessed with really great clients. One client, I just leveled with them to say like, this is what I have. In the
Yeah,
beginning it was just, I'm really, really sick. I'm going to have to, it's going to take me a little longer to get through your file. Unfortunately, I'm really sorry. And everybody was just so understanding. In the beginning, I didn't know it was COVID. I just said, I'm really sick. And they're like,
right,
just
yeah,
don't worry about it. Right. Like take your time, whatever it is, it is. Then I figured out I had COVID and was letting them know. I had a client say, can I get your groceries for you? Like, just so lovely. People can be so lovely when you have an issue. And I think it really just opens your mind to, you don't always have to deal with everything yourself, right? I am the first person who has that issue where I do everything myself. I don't
right.
ask for help. I'm just that way. In a moment of need, like there was nothing I could do. I was just so sick. And here were these people, that's okay, just making me feel like, okay, it's okay. I can let them know that I'm just that sick. And, people are kind out there.
And it's okay to ask for help and to accept help from others.
I am
I'm
definitely
the
a work in progress in that area, but, this
yeah.
taught me. This taught me.
Yeah, I'm the same way as well. But we have seen a lot of that, the whole community coming together through this period of time. So many people doing that, offering to get groceries for people who shouldn't be going to the grocery store, and etc. Things like
Yeah,
that.
and in the beginning, I had a number of people that were doing grocery runs for me, and then
Hmm.
then I get to like, how many times can you ask somebody to do something for you? So even to this day, I still get Instacart. I'm just now thinking about, is it time for me to get over Instacart and actually go out there? Because again, if you can't tell me if I'm immune or not, I treat it like I'm not immune. And just like everybody else, you have family to worry about, children in the house. I don't want to bring
Yeah,
it back to them. So I'm still struggling with, is it the right time now for me to do the groceries or not? For other people, it's been okay the whole time. But I know
right.
what it's like to get it, and I
Yeah.
don't want to get it again.
No,
So
no, I'm sure you don't. No, for sure. Um, yeah, so it's been quite a journey, I think, over these last 5 months, and especially for you. And I think, like I say, back to going when we were first shut down, it was like, oh, okay, a couple months, 2 weeks, a month, whatever, we can do this, and everybody was coming together, everybody's in the home, but developing new routines and getting navigating the space, when everybody had to work from home and kids came home, etc. And some of
kids
the
on your video
people,
calls and
yeah, and so some of the people I've spoken to, with the little kids, it's been quite a chore sometimes,
absolutely.
because
Or just like,
they're
how do you navigate trying to work with this little one in the background? And frankly,
yeah,
I've had that with my clients, right? Because everything's online, and some
yes,
clients, they've got a young baby or a 2-year-old in the background or on their arm, and they're trying to communicate to talking about divorce. I mean, the kids are young, they don't understand the words, but everybody's stuck, and you have to do the best that you can, right?
right,
And
yeah,
if it's a child who will understand the words, and I have to say to them, listen, I don't really want that child to be hearing this kind of a topic, right? a baby, okay, because
Oh,
you know what's going on. But
yeah, no, true, true as well.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's been difficult for a lot of people going through, going through this time together. And I guess, as you can see, I'm sure from your divorce mediation work, that anything that was already there before has been heightened and magnified. So any issues that existed, all of a sudden, everybody's in the house 24 hours a day. There's been issues with abusive relationships
yeah,
where people are
unfortunately,
stuck in the home, where they, when they got out to work or whatever, was their only escape.
yeah.
And then, of course, any issues in a marriage that, all of a sudden you're 24 hours a day and you're not getting away from that spouse.
Those are such important issues to highlight. And for the ones that are experiencing abuse, like, my heart breaks for them, because sometimes there's just nowhere to go, or there's no break from that abuse. And here it is in COVID and you can't go anywhere. I just hope that they all have some kind of safety planning somehow, until call those women's shelters or wherever to get information on what they can do. But just for the ones with the issues in the marriage, and you're absolutely right, with they are heightened, and this person, even the smallest of things that might irritate you about somebody, just they're heightened because you're with each other 24/7, and it's hard to get space from that person. And so I think people are really thinking through, like, is this a relationship that I want to be in, or is it not? Or I already knew before COVID, maybe I was getting ready, I was making plans to potentially part, and then COVID happened, and now it's just amplifying. Yeah, that's the right decision for me. And so for me in my business, what I saw, I thought the same, just like any other business. Okay, business is going to go down for now. And most of my clients just kept the same pace. There were a couple of clients who said, okay, so it's COVID. It wasn't that they were going to get back together. It's just that, they were worried about their jobs and, what does this all mean? And we don't really know what this means. So let's just wait and see. And
Yeah.
literally a couple months in, they all came back and said, yeah, this isn't going anytime soon. Let's just keep the pace and let's keep moving forward. And then unfortunately, you're right, there are some, maybe they hadn't made the decision prior to COVID, and it just really amplified for them. No, this isn't the right relationship for me, and let's just start moving forward in a separation.
Right.
But the
Yeah.
problem becomes, then we were wondering about, well, living quarters, right? Okay, if you're separating, you're wanting to get away from that person. COVID and buying a house, how does that work, right? Or even renting, like, can you even find a place? Now, what I'm hearing from real estate agents is that the market's doing really well. And actually, just
Oh, yes.
literally a couple of weeks ago, had a client, they had stalled that part of their separation, and the person was like, no, I'm leaving now. So like, they just literally just now last week bought a house.
Yeah, no, I have heard that from the realtors I know as well. There's a lack of supply, and there's a
Yes.
lot of demand for houses now. I think also some people are looking at moving. A lot of people have been moving kind of out to the suburbs, bigger homes, knowing that they're going to be working from home on a more permanent basis going forward, and
Yeah.
needing that extra space and not having to worry about the commute like they used to. Because
Yeah. I mean, and that's been huge, right? Not having to commute has been a real great benefit for many of us.
yes, right. And I don't think basically downtown Toronto is pretty much empty, those office buildings.
Yeah.
The banks have already said they're not sending anybody back till 2021.
Yes.
So that's huge. For me, I live in Etobicoke, so for me to go downtown, I can get down there in 15 minutes. Really doesn't even matter, maybe 20 minutes if it's like
Yeah.
more traffic. But normally you could be an hour at rush hour. So it's
Easily.
just, yeah. But it's pretty, that's another whole conversation, what's going to happen with respect to all of the commercial real estate, because I think a lot of organizations are going to realize that working from home can be done, and people can be productive and actually get work done. And even in some cases, with them not having to commute, they can get a lot more work done.
I think everything's going to change, right? I mean, you're seeing even medical appointments are being, depending on what the appointment is, you could do it online, right? I've talked to my doctor just on a phone call. Yeah, all kinds of appointments are being done online that wouldn't have been done before. And I think it's great. Even in my mediations, like for me, it's just as effective. I can still see your body language on a screen, right? If I'm reading between the lines. And I was doing online mediations before COVID, not as many certainly, but it might be where one partner moved really far, or there was a snowstorm, and instead of canceling a day, we decided to do it online or something like that. So I had been doing them anyway. So for me, it wasn't really a big change, just to do the more often. But you'll see that I think with lots of businesses where maybe they thought they couldn't do stuff online and there was no other choice, and now they're saying, oh wait, we can be just as productive. And perhaps that's a morale booster, which means you're going to be even more productive because you're feeling better about things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially without, just without having to commute and fight with the traffic. That can definitely make you feel better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you'd be so frustrated sometimes, depending on, on your morning, whatever you hit on your commute in the morning can kind of frustrate you, and
it's draining.
And that sets up your day to not be the best most productive day.
Right. Sure.
Indeed. So yeah. But we do miss the online. The in-person events. I know, and
the events,
in-person
and the
networking
and the hugs, yeah, absolutely. That part I find is really hard.
Yes.
And
yes,
walking down the street, and are we far enough apart from whoever we're seeing, and sometimes even crossing the street in the beginning because we just felt so scared, and that part is hard, right?
Yes.
And having this, I think it's like a sense of paranoia, really. And even if you walk into the store, you're still paranoid. Like, in the beginning, my parents, they're older, and they were doing grocery shopping for me, which I didn't want them to do, but they're as stubborn as I am.
Yeah.
And so just even they're paranoid to them. They're telling me about their experience and how paranoid they are. And it's a different world.
Yeah, especially at the beginning, and now, things have opened up, but there's still so much that has changed, and so much that's still, like, to me, I used to enjoy going to HomeSense on a regular basis. I used to pop in there and just see what's new and what they have in stock. And I've gone now twice, I think, and it's not enjoyable anymore. It just really isn't. I don't. No. I had to go to the mall with my daughter. She wanted to go to Square One. We went out there, and no, I'm not going to go out of my way to go there. It doesn't feel like somewhere you go and, be social or anything like that. You just go and get whatever you need and get done and out of there.
In fact, the boys and I went to a drive-in movie. So Sherway Gardens.
Yes.
Sherway, right? They were doing drive-in movies, I think, just for a few weeks. So we went to one. Oh, it was a great movie. We had a great time. And the porta potties were near us. And we were all like, I don't want to use the bathroom here. And I'm saying to them, I don't know that you can hold it, because by the time we parked the car, we watched the movie, all of that, they would not use the bathroom.
No. Yeah. I was the same way too. At so many places, you feel so differently about things than we did 6 months ago. Think back to February and everything. It's for sure. So you have so your kids have been at home, obviously. They're in high school, and the one
is going to grade 8, the one is going to grade 11.
Grade 8, right?
In high school,
okay. Yeah, so the whole school, back to school there's a lot of confusion and fighting going on right now between the ministry and the boards and the teachers.
It is.
And I feel where all the parents are stressed. I feel bad for the teachers and the stress that they're having to, because there's just so many questions and so much uncertainty still.
Yes.
And it's, I do feel that the kids have to get back to school from the mental health point of view, back to a
I don't think
routine.
anybody
Back to,
disagrees with that part.
but then again, us too, right? Like the mental health side of things too. We like, we at least we have this that we can connect with people online,
Yes.
but we miss people too. But the whole safety around the schools.
I mean, I know the way I see it is like kids are kids. We can have the best thought out plan and the best of intentions,
Yeah.
but can you really expect children to follow what we expect them to do, right? I mean, how many masks do you see even with adults? They're down here or they're up by our chins because we forgot or something, right? And
Yeah.
kids, how good is kid hand hygiene really, right? In the
Right.
best of times. Yes, we have to
Yeah.
keep reminding them, but when they're at school,
Especially the little ones.
oh, for sure, the kids. We can't expect adult behaviors out of kids. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very personal decision, and like there can't be any judgment. I'm not in somebody else's shoes, and
No,
they're
no,
not in
no.
mine, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
but
Definitely.
it's a very difficult decision, no matter which side you pick, and everybody has
Mm-hmm.
different reasons for what they're going to choose, and there's just no telling. There's just no telling which one is it a right. Wouldn't even. I think we all have a hard decision to make. I don't think one is right and one is wrong. It just
No. Right. Right. And it depends on the individual child as well. Some children, like my daughter, did not enjoy the online schooling at all. She really longs for the in-person, in class, having the teacher actually instructing.
I think the quality, and I don't. Again, it's not about it's somebody's fault that what was coming out of it. I think they did the best they could do in the moment when it happened. Really
Right.
scrambling because it just happened. Nobody knew this was going to happen.
Yes,
Right. So
exactly.
with no preparation, all of a sudden they had to do this online thing. And I watched with my own kids what happened. Well, the one in high school did have enough homework, and he was quite busy. He was locked in his room quite a bit, and so I was glad that at least he had enough work to do. The younger one was told he should have about 2 hours of work per day, and at that time was grade 7. He was done in 10 minutes every day. And so poor boy, he said dads once, I literally emailed his teacher. I went, I have no line of sight to the quality of work he's sending you because nothing's coming home. I don't know. Like he could be doing a crap job. I wouldn't even know.
Right.
So I'm just asking you, based on what you're seeing, do you think you could give him a little bit more work? Because he's blowing through it in like 10 minutes. Doesn't he home that day? Mom, did you contact the teacher? Why? Because the teacher contacted me asking if I want more work. And you're the only person that would have done that. I'm like, yep, sorry, you caught me. But he still didn't get enough work, even after that. And
Really?
so now, you wonder what I'm hoping that they've had some time to prepare more than what was happening before.
Yes, I understand it's going to be different, definitely, because what was done back in March, I guess, sorry, beginning of April was scrambling to come up with something, and I think it varied teacher by teacher, and I think there's been a lot more done to look at this from an overall perspective and a process, but at the same time, I think it's still evolving. It's still evolving and changing, and we're at oh my gosh, just 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just 2 weeks after this weekend. So yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's hard to believe actually, because back in March, it seemed like those I don't know, for you, different. You were obviously not feeling well, so it probably felt like eternity. But the last 2 weeks in March to me felt like it was like 6 months long or something, because so many things were changing every day. It felt like it was so long, March, April, and then when we got to May, and then time started going faster, but this summer seems to have just flown by.
It did, and it's really kind of sad. Like you can't, I miss our big thing was always dinner and a movie on a Friday night. We always did that, and I miss just simple things. And I think now it's become trying to be creative. How can we experience some joy outside of the mundane, just staying at home all the time? Doesn't mean you're not home. Like for us, so and as an example, I found out pottery painting. They were delivering to homes. Great, that's something we used to do before. So we started doing stuff like that a little bit more often now. I mean, now they've opened up, but again, we have our own concerns. And so we're not
Right.
quite on the let's go into the pottery place itself. But that's what it's going to be is how can we be creative to still have fun experiences that wouldn't be the same as what we did before, but allow a little joy in and a little bit changing of the monotony.
Yeah, and I think we've seen a lot of evidence of that, being creative and coming up with new things, just like you were saying with the drive-in at Sherway, where they innovated to, set that up. For us in our neighborhood, they've brought in food trucks every Wednesday.
Oh, wow.
For the summer. They brought in the empty church parking lot. They
Oh,
set
that's
them up
great.
every Wednesday, and they just, you have to practice social distancing, and you're not to hang out there. You're to, take it back home or whatever. But it's been very, it's getting people together kind of outside, and something different. And plus, like, you're tired of making food too, right?
Oh my goodness, yes. What am I gonna make today?
Yeah, especially, and then that was the whole thing too, right? Breakfast, lunch, dinner every day. All of a sudden, it just never, especially when we were really shut down and nothing was open. We did, there was the takeout available, but
Well, and I have actually said to my kids, because my kids are older now, right? And
yeah,
even the last couple of years, have had them when going to school, they were in charge of making their lunches. I would just sort of supervise, make sure it was a decent
right,
lunch, and I would make, it literally be scooping an extra helping of dinner from the night before for lunch. But now I've actually said to them, for this school, whether we choose to go in person or stay at home, doesn't matter. I said to them, you guys are still packing your lunches,
yeah,
because what's happening right now in the summertime, first of all, it's all on me. And so even now I'm like, you guys are left to fend for yourself. I always cook enough dinner so that there's lunch for the next day. But in a moment where they, they're boys, they eat a lot. In a moment where they're eating too much of the dinner and there's not something left for the next day, they're to fend for themselves. I'm still trying to work, right?
yeah,
But what I find in the summertime, like, all the routines go out the window and lunch becomes 2:30 or 3 o'clock or something. So I've said to them, okay, this is not going to happen for school, even if you're at home. We're going to pretend like this is regular school. You're going to pack your lunch the night before, because I don't want you going, oh, what is for lunch? And that takes up half your day. And then you're not actually working, or lunch becomes just, a bowl of cereal because I didn't think it through, or, we really have to get on being creative and still trying to have some kind of routine, whatever you choose.
yes, yeah. And you're right. Summer does always throw us out of routine, but September is always like the new, start getting back into a routine. And of course, the routines have changed no matter what, because some parents and some people have gone back to working,
Yes.
not at home, and others are still at home. And like, people like us who were already working from home, or entrepreneurs, then we just continue like that. But again, it's everybody's finding that they are getting creative in their business and new ways to do business, new ways to interact, and technology has really become an important part of everything. And it's really escalated or heightened everything, and quickened the pace is what I was going to say.
It
Like,
is,
people have had to adapt to technology very quickly.
yes, as for for somebody who's not a technically savvy person, I can imagine
Or don't
it's been
like, there's some people who really can't, would always complain about the technology and couldn't stand it and didn't want to adopt, didn't want to understand it. Well, you've had to.
right. And at the same time, I think, like, could you imagine if this happened in a time, and it has happened in times where we didn't have so much technology available to us, but what a blessing it is that we can stay
Oh yeah,
connected. Yes, we can't hug, and that part really sucks, but at least we can be connected. You can still have video calls with your friends. You can still, you can be aware of what's going on, and the ability to have online schooling, the ability to have online mediations, for my case, or whatever
right.
business, the ability to do that. We didn't have that many years ago, so we're lucky
Yes,
about that.
exactly. Yeah, for sure. It definitely, again, it's a time to be innovative, creative, and think of new ways of doing things. And it's like a fresh start, really. It's a fresh
Yeah.
start in so many ways.
Yeah,
To
absolutely.
decide who you want to be, what you want to do going forward, how you want to live your life.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Neelam, for your time.
My
I think
pleasure.
it was a great conversation, and I look forward to, whenever we'll be able to see each other in person
That,
sometime.
that would be nice.
Yeah,
Until then,
sometime.
virtual hugs.
Until then, exactly. And,
Yeah.
I wish you all the best. Stay safe, and let's kick off September really well.
Yeah, wishing you the best as well. Take care,
All
Michele. Thanks
right.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
And I will put your information underneath this interview when I put it up as well,
Awesome.
so that if anybody wants to, talk to you, contact you for anything further. So thank you again, and have a great day.
Thanks, you as well.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.